Unknown, take one.
Why are you appearing anonymously?
Heather's case has never been solved, and it should have been solved a long time ago. Being small town, I am in somewhat fear of what could possibly happen to me about saying my opinions and what I've physically seen at the funeral home.
Dallas, Georgia is a small community 45 minutes west of Atlanta. It's a rural community. It's about as close to country as you're going to get from Atlanta.
We got a little bit of land and we ride, hunt, fish. Nobody really gives us any problems.
There are many families that have been here for 200 plus years. Most people around here are fairly conservative, but not close-minded.
Hey, that's a Methodist church. That's where I was confirmed. There's a church every 2 feet in this part of the country.
Most everybody mentions their religion and talk about God.
I do feel very safe here, but things do happen in small towns that, that maybe you wouldn't think would.
After our first season aired, I got a Facebook message from someone who felt they had a case that we really needed to be looking into. In 2017, a young mother, Heather Turner, 35 years old, super active in the church, she's found dead. It's reported that it's a suicide, and yet, 5 years later, her death is still an open case in this town, still under investigation, and the cause of her death is still undetermined. And there are a number of people in this town that really feel like there's so much more to this story.
The circumstances, situations surrounding it, knowing all the players, you know, I have questions of my own that haven't been answered, that need to be answered.
Things have happened in this community that are terrible, that people should maybe investigate more, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
Paulding County 911, what are you calling to report?
Wife has shot herself in the bathroom.
Your wife, where did she shoot herself?
In the head. Please, no.
Take a deep breath. What's your name?
My name is Andy Turner.
What's your wife's name?
Heather.
May 2017, the coroner of Paulding County, Lindsay Eberhardt, called my secretary, said, I want y'all to know that Heather's body is ready to be released. And my secretary said, what do you mean? She said, well, Heather Turner has committed suicide. I knew Heather, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, inside and out. And I immediately said, there ain't no way. We sent our guys out to bring Heather to the funeral home. You know, when we unzipped the bag, I knew this beautiful woman. Now, her face was pretty much gone. And it made me sick. I wanted to throw up. In my career, that was probably the worst gunshot to the head that I've ever seen. And I'll never forget this until the day I die. I have been in the field for 23 years. I have never seen a certified Georgia death certificate that did not have a cause and manner of death. It's either self-inflicted, accidental, or murder. Nothing was checked off on Heather Turner's. To this day, it's still undetermined.
Heather's death was tragic, and I think a lot of people were just left asking what happened that morning. And so we scheduled an interview with the person who could walk us through that. It is the Paulding County coroner, Lindsay Eberhardt. But she pulled out at the last second. She sent us this official statement. It says, as the coroner, I responded to the death of Heather Turner. I filed my complete report and continue to stand by that report as it reflects the information I received and observed on scene. We have filed Freedom of Information requests for the police report, and we have been denied because the case is still open. So the only thing we have to go on in the meantime is Lindsay Eberhardt's coroner's report. And so I'm going to read it. Deceased name, Heather Turner. Weapon, a .38 caliber handgun. Note found, "I'm sorry, I love you." Heather was found on her back in the floor, naked. Her hair was wet from her shower. She had an entrance wound. It appears to have been on the right side of her head, and there may have been a possible exit on the left side. No bullet was recovered. There was alcohol present on one of the nightstands in the bedroom, and a wall near the toilet had appeared to be washed. Mrs. Turner was transported to the GBI in Decatur on May 4th, 2017 for autopsy. And the update on this is that the case is ruled undetermined by the GBI medical examiner.
I don't know what happened in that house on that morning. I'm hoping for answers. I am Cindy Clock, and I'm Heather's aunt. Heather was more of a daughter to me than she was a niece. When I found out that Heather died, I just dropped to my knees, and I just lost it. It's been 5 years now, and the case is not closed. When I ask a question, they say, "No, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. This is an active and ongoing case."
The coroner will not sit down and meet with us, and we are continuing to try and meet up with law enforcement to learn more about this situation. Thankfully, we do have people that really want to tell us everything they know, and that includes the people that really cared about Heather.
Hi,
Cindy.
Hillary.
It's so nice
Come
to
in.
meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you
Please
for
come
having
in.
me. For the person who has never met Heather, can you tell us a little bit about her personality? Who was she when she walked into a room?
Well, first, she's just an amazing energy and light. She had a great sense of humor. She loved music. She loved to sing. She had a beautiful voice. She loved to try new things. She was a writer. She put it out there. At one point, she was writing songs.
You had a very close bond with Heather.
My sister struggled with some prescription drugs, and I was always there for Heather. When her mother died in her sleep, that was very traumatic for Heather.
Heather was how old when she got married?
Right after high school. Philip was a local boy, and he was raised in the church. His dad is a minister. Flash forward to here she is having a baby.
Oh, man.
She was a great mom. They took the baby to church from day one, and they were just a really cute little family, and she began singing in the church.
It feels like the postcard story. They're like the Ken and Barbie of church.
I know, and that's why you never see this coming.
Sir, take a deep breath. Listen, was this intentional?
Yeah, I believe so.
Keep doing CPR.
At the church at Cheatham Hill, we had our pastor, which was Terry Elsner, and then his son was Philip Elsner, and his wife, Heather, was over the youth group. Him and Heather really put in a lot of time with the kids. The kids looked up to them. It was a great atmosphere. And then Andy Turner had come on at the church as the associate pastor. He was a very charismatic guy. Andy made it seem like it was coming straight from his heart, like he genuinely cared about your relationship with God. If he was talking about Noah and building the ark, you was in the boat with him. Me and Andy started getting closer and closer, and he was this great guy, this big personality. He could go play in the mud hole, be a little bit of a country redneck, but at the same time, you throw him in a suit, and he could go eat $1,000 dinners with his pinky throwed out. He brought this energy into the church. Even the teens would like to come in there and listen to Andy preach. You had Brother Terry and his wife, Philip and Heather, and then Andy and Mindy, his wife. They just fit like a puzzle. It was a great church.
Heather's a new mom.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her high school sweetheart husband. They're all involved in the church. It looks like a postcard.
Mm-hmm.
What is your first clue that something's wrong?
Marriage is hard. I understood what it's like when you get married too young.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to her about working it out with Philip or make things better, and she said she didn't want to, that she was in love with someone else.
One day, I get a phone call from this lady that was a member of the church, all panicking. Oh my God, have you heard what happened? Have you heard what happened? Andy, he got caught having an affair with Heather. And I said, no, you're crazy. So I called him. And I'm like, Andy, what happened, man? He's like, man, I was counseling Heather and Philip. They was going through some stuff in their marriage, and I got sucked in. I said, Andy, you're a preacher. You're a man of God. You've told me how wrong this is.
You know, it came out that they were having an affair, and it blew the church up.
Philip was heartbroken when Heather left him. She ended up moving in our home. She brought her son. She said that she was in love with someone else.
What'd she tell you about him?
Just said that he was a great guy and she had a lot of fun with him and they laughed a lot.
These two letters are both from 2008. Dear Andy, I never want to lose you, honey, never. When we get all of this behind us, we will be unbreakable. I love you with all of my heart, Heather. What was the first meeting between your family and Andy Turner?
He came over to the house and I cooked dinner. He seemed nice and friendly, almost like he was trying to be over charming. They laughed a lot, but when I asked him questions, it was hard to get specific answers.
After that first night, were you like, yes, Heather, I get it?
I was like, yes, I get your chemistry and your attraction, but I did not have the warm and fuzzies about this guy.
They move in together. What is the setup? Do his kids start coming over?
Mindy and Andy had joint custody.
Was Heather's son living with them?
In the beginning, yes. And then Heather became pregnant with Lexi.
And do Heather and Andy get married?
I did not know that they did. One day, Heather came over to the house and she was wearing wedding rings. And I went, oh, Heather, oh my gosh, did you get married? And she goes, yeah, we got married.
Did you feel weird that you weren't there as her family member?
I did feel weird. She just said the two of them eloped.
Yeah, I have a lot of my friends that said, man, you outpunted your coverage when you married Heather. But see, what they don't realize is that I chased her until she caught me. Why you laugh at that?
We didn't get to talk very often. And I would say, Heather, I want to see you. And she would say, I know, I miss you too, Aunt Sissy. I'll talk to Andy. But I kept seeing on Facebook these photos of the family and matching football shirts or, some theme and travel and all that. And I was just thinking, well, maybe they do have a pretty good life.
We're getting about 5 to 6, sometimes some weeks a lot more, just messages on our Facebook and emails and texts saying, how in the world do y'all have this happy marriage? Is it real? Or is it you just married on Facebook?
But we really do like each other. No, we genuinely do.
And I never dreamt that it could lead to this.
Andy, okay, are you compressing your wife's chest?
I'm trying my best. Andy.
Who is this?
I am Andy's father.
Is Andy okay?
No.
Okay, and you believe that she's beyond all help?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anybody that can step outside, that they can meet with responders?
Yeah, I'll go out there.
I get a phone call from Andy, and he goes, it's bad, Cindy. And I said, what? What is it? Is something happened to Heather? He goes, she's dead. She killed herself. And I said, Andy, where was Lexi? The kids, did they see it? And he said, Lexi was the only one here and she didn't see it. And I just lost it. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
And Heather was like losing a child.
Had Heather ever had mental health issues? Did she ever talk about suicide?
No, never, never, never. Heather was not a person that was depressed. She would not, it doesn't make sense.
You build a bond when you're in a small community, they depend on you at the worst time of their life. This is very hard for me personally. I had a very good relationship with Andy Turner's mother and father. Curtis and Pam Turner were a role model in Paulding County. Curtis was a very powerful minister. Pam was working at Paulding County Probate Court. You know, dear friends of mine, their son's wife committed suicide. So at the end of the arrangement conference, I said, Andy, I just saw her 3 days ago, man. I said, what happened? And he said, Heather's grandfather died about a month ago. She was losing her job, and she's having custody issues with her former husband. And I'm waiting for some more why she committed suicide. I said, is that it? And he said, yes.
We have left Paulding County because our next interview is with a funeral director who was a longtime family friend of the Turners, and he lived and worked in that community for years, but now he no longer feels safe even stepping foot there. Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Can you tell me a little bit about why you are staying anonymous on our show?
With Heather's case, there has not been an arrest made. There's a lot of things up in the air, a lot of uncertainties. Am I fear for retaliation for me talking? I have no idea. Just to be on the safe side, that's why I choose to be anonymous.
How many suicides do you think you have dealt with in your career?
Too many.
Yeah.
I could say 100 or better.
And so when Heather comes in, what are the things you're expecting to see being told it's a suicide?
100% of suicides, an individual that has shot themselves, they have a burn around the entry of where the bullet went in. I call it muzzle blast. When the bullet is ignited, all that comes out and burns the individual's head. Mm-hmm. Heather did not have that. When my associate, he was embalming her and working on her head, he said, I want you to explain something to me. And he pointed out right off the get-go, right up here was the entry wound, was here. I said, where's the muzzle burn at? If Heather really did shot herself, she would have had to, from a distance, used her thumb. Entry here, exit here.
So you'd have to get it high enough.
High enough.
And far enough away to
absolutely.
Not have the muzzle burn.
Yes.
But to get that trajectory.
Sure.
Have you ever seen that in your career?
Never. There's no way.
Investigators are taking a second look at the death of a Paulding County mother. Her husband says it's suicide, but investigators are now calling the death questionable.
Tonight, I spoke with the husband, Andy Turner. He says that he was not aware the investigation was being called questionable. Meanwhile, Paulding County investigators say they don't have a specific person of interest. They say at this point, everyone is being considered a person of interest.
Even though there were a lot of serious questions about this case from the very beginning, the investigation seems to have stalled out. And so we've been working really hard to get law enforcement to talk to us about what the current status of Heather's case is. And we were finally able to get the Paulding County Sheriff's Office public information officer to agree to give us an on-camera statement. And then we got a text.
This is Ashley.
Hey, Sergeant, how are you?
So, I have some bad news. Our detectives have said that they want the GBI to respond to you guys instead of me. I'm sorry that it worked out this way. I thought that we had all our I's dotted and T's crossed, but what I had figured out got overruled, so.
Did they give a reason why they prefer to handle it?
No, they didn't, and I really don't know.
Are they worried at all about sort of jeopardizing the investigation, or are there active things happening right now?
I mean, you guys are smart enough to know that there's obviously some concern about the way this situation occurred, and so it's not just an open and shut case. If it was, it would have been shut years ago.
You know, the case has been open for 5 years. I'm wondering what other evidence you guys are still looking for.
Well, not necessarily looking for per se, but, analyzing what was there and interviewing with all the individuals trying to make a determination on what took place. All I can do is what they'll allow me to do, and I can only release what they'll allow me to release.
All right, bye now.
All right, bye-bye.
So the GBI has gotten back to us right away. And we have an email from them saying, this particular case has been given to the DA's office. So what we have is the sheriff's department saying, no, we can no longer give you an on-camera statement because this is now in the hands of the GBI. We have the GBI saying, we've concluded our investigation and handed it off to the DA. In the meantime, Heather's friends and family have been living in limbo, and they deserve the answers that are in this investigation.
I've been waiting a long time to talk about this. Heather was my best friend and the love of my life, and I know the truth about what happened to her, and it's been covered up, and it's time that the truth comes to light.
In 2016, after years of being a stay-at-home mom, Heather got a job at the probate court, which is where her mother-in-law, Pam Turner, also worked. We're going to meet with Rob Aber. He was a co-worker of Heather's, and he should be able to give us a lot of information because she was confiding things in him during those last few weeks of her life. Rob?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah? Oh, man, there's a lot to go through here.
Yeah.
In 2016, you're working in the probate office. Mm-hmm. At what point do you meet Heather Turner?
Summer of 2016. That's when she first came to work in the office. We became really close, really good friends from the get-go. She was very sweet and kind, and she had a very giving personality. She was not closed off. We liked the same kind of movies, music. The only thing is, you know, she loved country music and I hate country music. And I said, oh, you're listening to that trash? And she was just like, oh, shut up. And I said, well, you know what? If you love it, I'll listen to it. I would listen to country music all day if you like it.
Was that your way of flirting with her?
Yeah. It was a flirtatious thing, yeah.
You and Heather are buddies, but you clearly have a crush on her.
I knew she was married, and I'm just not that kind of person. It was what it was.
So what changed?
There's one day in particular where she looked very down, and I noticed she just had this look on her face. I asked her, I said, what's going on? Is everything okay? She's just like, I just need to hold you. And I was just like, okay. And I said, what's going on? And she was just crying. After that day, we started emailing each other. We would meet up in the jury deliberation room every day for lunch, but even at that point, it was just a flirtation.
What did you know about her marriage? Did she, as your friend, confide in you about her home life?
She would just be like, you have no idea, Rob. He's out of his mind. She started confiding in me and telling me that she wasn't married. And
what?
I said, what do you mean? She said, I've never taken vows with him. She said, he falsified the name of the minister who was going to marry them, and he turned it into probate court, and it got filed and legally binding document. And then it kind of went into hyperspeed, where we were talking about the future and just, we're gonna be together. But then Andy got access to all of our emails. Heather told me, oh, all hell is broken loose in the office. Andy's over here, he's trying to get me fired. He's mad, he's accusing me of, sleeping with you or sleeping with an attorney, or he's telling me I'm doing all of this stuff.
Did you receive a call from Andy?
Yes, He said specifically that, just to let you know, this whole thing with you and Heather is a lie. We're just doing this to screw with you. This is how we have our fun. We laugh our asses off at you about this because Heather's just toying with you and she's playing with you. This is not real.
That's an explosive situation.
I knew he was full of but I let him get to me.
It got in your head.
It did. I got to work that morning and I was fuming. Heather was crying and she was shaking and she was in a panic. And then I immediately sort of asked her, I said, is this all a game to you? And she just said, no. This is what he does. He's trying to make you hate me. This morning he was 7 o'clock drinking tequila and he had a gun. I told her she needed to get a restraining order. She said a restraining order is not going to do any good. He knows too many people. It's not going to matter. It's not going to keep him away from me. And I kept telling her, Heather, he's dangerous. You're not safe.
Heather called me a couple of times and said, he's beating me, come get me. And before I could get there, she called me back crying. He says he's gonna stop. Don't come, Aunt Sissy, don't come. If you come, you're just gonna make it worse on me. One time, Heather's son was over at Heather and Andy's house with their children for the weekend. And when Heather brought the son back to her ex-husband, he took off his clothes to give him a bath, and the bruises were all over his body. He immediately took him to the emergency room. The police got involved. Andy said that he played football with him. It got a little rough. And Heather ended up making an agreement that Heather's ex-husband would keep sole custody of the child so that he would be protected from Andy. Does that demonstrate how much she loved him or how he's brainwashed her? I don't know.
What happens right after that? Do you continue making plans to leave together?
Yeah. She was still very dedicated to getting out of there and moving things forward with us. That day started off like any normal day at work. But then we got called into the judge's office because our emails had been pulled. All of our dirty laundry, so to speak, was put out in the open. Judge was furious at us, told us, I'm going to expect that both of you are going to resign tomorrow. I told Heather, I love you. That's important to me. I don't care about this job. We can just quit. Let's just leave. Read this. This is May 3rd. She's dead May 4th.
It was 12 hours earlier.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about this letter?
Yes. This is the letter that Heather wrote me on May the 3rd. To briefly attempt a reply to your letter, I love you. I understand that you're afraid of being hurt, but please don't ever doubt how I feel about you. If I didn't see a future with you, I wouldn't waste your time. In you, I have found a love that I never knew existed. I dream constantly of where life could take us. Robbie, I honestly can't imagine life without you. Please always know I love you wholeheartedly and have no reservations about us. And, she gave that to me, and that's the last thing I have from her. Does that sound like the letter of a woman who's going to kill herself the next morning?
No.
She didn't take her own life. She wasn't depressed. She was looking forward to getting away from him.
At this point, we have so many questions that can only be answered by Andy Turner. And so we have reached out to him in hopes of talking to him. But this morning, one of our producers gets a message from him, and so I'm going to call him.
Hello, this is Andy.
Hi, Andy. This is Hillary Burton Morgan. I'm grateful that you've been in touch with our producers.
I wanted to reach out and chat with you because I know that you're actually moving forward. So I wanted to make sure that I had at least some dialogue with you to cover the right bases.
Well, I would love to hear your side of it and be able to put that out there. You mentioned that you're aware that we're here.
I knew when you walked out of the courthouse.
Who told you that?
Well, my mom works at the courthouse.
Okay.
There's a couple of things that I need to cover. Heather was never leaving.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that you don't have. All you have is just one-sided, she's leaving, and that's what makes it some ominous story, which is not true. We're a loving, happy family, and that's what I thought it was. She asked me to call Robbie because he was harassing her at work. So I called him and asked her, not to bother her anymore. It was a very cordial conversation.
Is that what she told you, that she was being harassed?
Yes, that's what she told me.
Why do people in this town say that you killed Heather?
Robbie and his family were just bitter. He didn't like the idea that She couldn't be in love with him.
Do you feel frustrated that law enforcement has left you in limbo like this?
I feel frustrated with law enforcement in general. There's a lot of corruptness in law enforcement, especially here. It feels like there's more of a vendetta.
Against you?
Yeah. Christopher was a good man. He was the lead detective originally. When he walked out, it was an open and closed case. Now it seems like because of social media, they don't want to close it.
The coroner's report is still unresolved, and it does not check a box, whether it's suicide or homicide. And until that happens, people are going to continue to talk. So can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing to try to get that resolution?
I'm not doing anything with Lindsay. I wouldn't stick my nose in any of that. It's not my place.
I'm sorry, did you say Lindsay?
Yeah, Lindsay Eberhardt's
okay.
The coroner.
Right.
I grew up with Lindsay.
Oh, you know Lindsay?
Yeah, I knew her father, Jeff. They're good people, and I know she made some mistakes on this, but I wouldn't dare call her to even try to discuss it.
Well, one of those things that people keep bringing up is the fact that the bullet was never recovered. Do you know what that's about?
It definitely was. Yeah, it definitely was. It never exited.
I mean, it seems like there's simple stuff that happens at every scene that should have been easy to figure out here.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with you. I'm just trying to help you understand the overall. So when you paint the picture, that you understand that you don't have the facts, or at least all of them. You have slivers of truth that has been distorted.
The abuse that Heather reported to friends and loved ones, what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so all of that I'm extremely disappointed to read, and I still say that I don't believe that come from her. I think that's them making stuff up.
She definitely wrote about it in emails. Did you read those emails?
I saw some emails. I don't believe those come from her.
There are photos of her son's battered body. And so if you could walk me through that.
Yeah, I don't. All of that was handled way back then, and she even handled that and was part of that. I don't want to address that one.
Are there records that we can take a look at just on our end to make sure we're not portraying anything inaccurately?
Yeah, I mean, she went and talked to them, and they closed it. Nothing ever happened because she wouldn't told them what happened that day.
I thought the court took her son out of your home and wouldn't let him come back.
No, that is 100% inaccurate. That never happened. The court was never involved. Never took him out.
I mean, there's a court. There's documents, Andy, that it went through the court.
And I see when people tell you stuff that's false, it's bad. It's been extremely heartbreaking. Nobody understands what it looks like from our eyes.
If this was resolved and it was finally, if the sheriff's department, if the coroner finally checked a box, that this would resolve itself for you?
The truth and the facts are there. And then there's people making up stories that's quite hurtful. And I'm getting death threats. My kids have been harassed at school, and I've been slandered and defamed bad. People on Facebook want to make up stories. I don't know whose friend to throw. Our family is writing a book and a movie about what we've gone through, we experienced from our side. Mm-hmm. So I want to be careful with what I say.
Well, look, if you could reach out to your lawyers and let them know this production would love to have some on-camera time with you.
I'll reach out to them, but I wanted you to have at least a heart knowledge of where we're coming from.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right.
If I were him and the whole town thought I was a murderer, I would be on the police's ass. Disclose this information, show the autopsy, close the case, call it a suicide so that my kids can leave the house. Andy's story as to why Heather's case is still open and has not been declared a suicide is that there's a conspiracy against him. But meanwhile, you have all these members of the community who firmly believe her death was not a suicide, and they point to Andy's own actions right after Heather's death as further proof of their suspicions.
A nanny's allegations against a former youth pastor. Meantime, police are investigating his wife's death.
I was lonely, and she was there.
Within a couple weeks after Heather's death, Andy started dating Christy Chubb, Heather and Andy's nanny. She lived in the home with Andy, kind of raised the kids, dressed matching outfits with Lexi, and started their new family. And it wasn't long until Andy began abusing her as well.
I am setting a compliance hearing.
A Paulding County judge has now granted Chubb a permanent restraining order against Turner.
He choked me and was choking me really hard and said that he could kill me right now.
He was putting these children who still haven't healed through new relationships and all of that chaos right after Heather had died.
He had me laying on my stomach one time and he told me I should hold Heather's ashes, that way he could be having sex with both of us.
We asked him about that allegation specifically.
He told you that?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow. All right.
In court, listening to the proceedings were the deputies investigating the death of Heather Turner, the former youth pastor's wife.
Why the district attorney at that time, which was Dick Donovan, did not investigate this, I cannot answer that question. But this is Paulding County, Georgia. Everybody knows everybody.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
We have gotten more information from the GBI. They have now informed us that they turned over their investigation in December of 2019. So the Paulding County DA has had it for years.
At the tone, please record your message.
Now, the DA who was in charge at that time, Dick Donovan, was subsequently charged with unprofessional conduct and dismissed. And the new DA was only recently officially appointed by the governor in March of 2022. Hi, Mr. Rollins. My name is Hillary Burton Morgan, and I'm in town with a production from Sundance. We are covering the Heather Turner case, and I would so appreciate any help on your end. If this was a suicide, it would be so easy to open up that file, see the GBI's determination, and say, guys, case closed. It's a suicide. The fact that they haven't done that makes me question what is in that investigation.
I want the truth. If it's a suicide, call it a suicide. Close the case. Let's all get on with our lives and start maybe healing our hearts. But they can't call it a suicide because it was not.
Is there anybody else in the residence with you? Is it just you?
Oh, I got my baby daughter here.
In the 911 call, he talks about Lexi being asleep and nobody knows what's going on except for him.
Andy, where is your daughter? Is she asleep?
She's asleep on the couch in the living room.
On the news, Lexi walked in right after it all happened. She seen her mother laying there.
My daughter and I heard a noise and ran to the door, and that's what we found.
The stories don't match.
And then there's this, nearly 12 minutes into the 911 call.
Andy.
This is Mother.
Turner says 2 minutes before he dialed 911, he called his parents who lived 10 minutes away.
Andy called his parents before he called 911. That doesn't make sense.
If I came home and found my wife in that condition, the first thing I would do, call 911.
The coroner's report says Turner was found naked, her hair still wet.
Shower off.
You're turning the shower off?
I can hear you.
I question the entire shower scenario. Why even take a shower if you know what your intent is?
I'm gonna write, I'm sorry I love you, and then shower, and then commit suicide. Or wait, did I shower and then write the note? Like, this doesn't work.
Wife shot herself in the bathroom.
Your wife, where did she shoot herself?
In the head.
If someone's going to shoot suicide, normally they're going to put the gun up to their temple. Heather's case, the entry wound was up here. There's no way to get your finger in a trigger inside and turn that muzzle. It would be impossible. Also, where's the bullet, buddy? Where's the bullet?
No bullet was recovered. Also, it noted that there was alcohol present on one of the nightstands in the bedroom, and a wall near the toilet had appeared to be washed.
The crime scene was not processed properly. Things got cleaned. Like, if it's suicide, don't touch a thing. Get them in here. Let's prove this. It's in everyone's best interest.
Okay, we have heard back from the DA, and I'm even more confused. He said it's not true that law enforcement has concluded their investigation. He says that the case is still open and that he's just there to support investigators' efforts. And so we're right back at square one. Everyone tells us to go talk to somebody else.
I'm very concerned that this will be shelved until we die, and then they'll close the case when there's no more Team Heather.
Everyone surrounding this case says that they want answers. Heather's family, members of the community, Andy Turner says that he can't live a normal life with this hanging over his head, and the fact that all these years later, it's just sitting there. It is a disservice to this community, it's a disservice to Heather's loved ones, and it's a disservice to Heather.